All right. Wow. Thank you, Andrew, for bringing this stuff over. I have been going over the fine art of Medicare disputes.
Navigating the Medicare network.
Yeah. You know, when you get someone to mail order your drugs, some of the things aren't covered, and you have to go to another mail order, and then, you know, to do that, you need to understand who the original prescribing doctor was, and that's 3 or 4 doctors down the road, and I don't even know what pharmacy they were using for prescriptions. So you end up paying like out of pocket just because you just can't stand it any longer, and you need to get on with the rest of your day. And that was the rest of my day.
Oh,
yeah. It's so when it's not a medical crisis, it's a different kind of fun.
Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Executive Director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Deputy Director Andrew Bauman. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
I have had an experience with doctors prescribing things to patients who didn't know that the patient had other prescriptions or concerns, and eventually the patient will have 15 pills they have to take, some of them once, some of them twice, some of them 3 or 4 times a day, and they don't always work well together, especially when you get 5 different doctors.
Yeah. It's like, you know, there's a doctor for the actual organ in question, and then there's one that's dedicated to the function, and there's the one that did the surgery, and then it's, you know, the good news is I think the administration is going to name Dr. Nick Nikopoulos or Dr. Phil or no, he's got Kennedy and Dr. Oz.
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
So everything will be fine.
Administration experts, so much management skills, billing, all that stuff. I'm sure they're all over that.
You're making me want to drink. Okay. Hey, Rob.
Andrew Bauman.
Good to see you. Such a beautiful day.
It is.
There's not a better place in this entire planet to record a podcast than your backyard. We've got beautiful turf.
Yeah.
It's lovely trees. We've got some changing color, some evergreen.
It's winter grass.
We've got the sound of a pool filling in the backyard with a gentle little trickle. It's like a waterfall.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful place to record a podcast on the planet.
For today, yes. I'll agree with you. I could not have gotten anywhere in the next 30 minutes.
Right.
Any better.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in New Zealand, but it feels like it a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I have to aim this mic up because I'm leaning down talking to it. All right, great. That was nice.
Yeah. Hey, we just got off a weekend where there was Barrels, Bottles, and Brews.
True fact, yes.
Yeah.
Arizona Barrels, Bottles, and Brews having its 6th?
I don't know. Yeah.
Quite a few of them at Salt River Fields, and one of the very nicest events, very chill. They limit ticket sales. They limit the number of breweries so that they very intentionally present an amazing event. They have live music. They had
Beer, wine, and spirits.
35 different
Yeah.
beverage producers there.
Yeah.
It's cool. We sold a lot of tickets to Arizona Strong. We sold a lot of merch.
Yeah. I'm going to insert in here a little video of Bonnie selling some merch.
Yeah.
Got a little B-roll of the grassy area. For those of you who are not from Arizona, we can grow grass here. We do 2 kinds. One is Bermuda in the summer, and one is rye in the winter. So beautiful winter grass area, some shade, trees, and then you go to the west up these stairs, and you're at the home plate entrance to Salt River Fields, and so you're in some concession areas.
Center field entrance.
Oh, center field.
And so you're in the concourse.
Yeah.
The very concourse of the stadium.
Yeah, so there were people who, on their way to the bathroom, decided, I'm just going to sit here
That was a rookie move.
grass bleachers
We're getting my glass.
And chill.
and got into the baseball game, which they're starting.
Vibes.
They're starting baseball right now. Winter League.
Yeah, Arizona Winter League. Sure. I know that spring training starts the weekend after Arizona Strong.
Yeah,
So they've got all that going on, plus a baseball tournament on the fields the weekend we're there. Yeah, they've got a lot on their plate. That's for sure.
They do. I'm just looking over at my pictures, and I wanted to make sure. Oh, I saw Josh Ivy from Craft 64 slinging pizzas. He's the only guy I can say extra sauce because he knows to crisp up that bottom. You get extra sauce on a lot of these pizzas, especially out in the field. But that guy's a pro. Little shout out to Josh. Haven't seen him in a while. But yeah, we got some of that footage. I did a little stand up. Ran into somebody who does some video production and gave me some pointers. I did a little stand up to talk about the importance of festivals, which we will insert here. Hey, it's Rob. I'm with the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild doing government and community affairs, and I just want to tell you how important festivals like this are for our organization. We are obviously representing breweries, and we're also very strongly concerned about public places, bars, restaurants, wineries, distilleries, and we are making efforts to improve our situation in the state as producers to allow our breweries, our wineries, our bars, our restaurants to have more products available. This is an important fundraising event for us, and we hope that you support anything that you see the Guild shield on, including Arizona Strong Beer Festival, which will happen here as well. Right now we're at this wonderful Barrels, Bottles, and Brews. It's been in association with Salt River Fields for a long time. If you buy your ticket, your VIP ticket, you'll be able to pick up your festival wristband and walk right in the next day, and that happens here at the ball field. And you'll be able to see a Major League Baseball tournament. So we hope you take advantage of supporting our policy efforts by coming to Arizona Strong Beer Festival, and support any festival that's run by a winery, a brewery, or distillery that benefits their organization. I'm Rob with the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild, and I thank you for your time.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. That was nice.
You see, this is like a little production forethought.
Yeah.
After this, though, I'm done.
You're
I
out.
did see where someone was making the argument. This was reposted by Jeff Allworth and his Celebrate Oregon Beer website about the fact that the writer, not Jeff, but Jeff posted it, was positing that festivals took a hit because of the popularity of taproom breweries and craft beer bars, and I'm not sure I buy that. I know that offers some variety. I know that I just don't think that speaks to the on paper notion of coming to a festival, and I don't think it speaks to the experience of a festival.
Right. I agree with that. I think that there is some merit to what that fella said, because there was a time when you had to, you couldn't get a lot of beer except when you went to Arizona Strong.
Right.
It just didn't exist in the state. They brought it in just for that event. They brought it in for surrounding events during Beer Week. And there's a lot more. I don't know if it's just the exclusivity of it. We still have some breweries more local now instead of national that do that.
It just, I guess there's a couple things. I guess, like for the people who like to, they can't not say something that they could say, why would I go to this when I have all this?
I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I could just take that money that I'm going to the festival with, and I'm just going to go to my local corner bar, and I could buy 4 rounds for the whole place as much as you're charging for all that.
Right. That's a guy I just wouldn't want to hang out with, though.
And
thanks for the beer.
It certainly does not account for anything having to do with the festival. That's only about liquid.
Yeah.
I could go get every one of those beers at my local stores and tap rooms. Well, that's true, but you're not going to meet the brewers. You're not going to see other craft beer people that you haven't seen for a year. You're not going to have the experiences that we provide. So, like, yeah, I mean, if you're just looking at dollars to liquid,
Yeah.
sure.
I'll tell you something. I was over.
And if that's all it is, then we are doing a really bad job.
I'm going to bring this around to the point of this. Oh no, it's on.
Okay.
It's going. Can't see. That's the one downside. You can't really see the screens as well outside. I was at the shop, Beer Co., and they have guest taps, and they had some of the craziest guest taps. They had a Relk beer. They had a Fresh Hop beer. The Relk beer was from Lake Pleasant. The Fresh Hop beer was from Goldwater. They had a Baltic Porter from Catalyst, and a pickle beer, which was at the festival from Simple Machine, and
Right.
it was not an over the top, totally brined out affair. And I believe they did use brine from a local pickler. Is that what we call it?
Pickling organization.
Picklist.
Arizona Society of Picklers.
So you could taste. I felt you could taste some of the other things beyond just salt and brine. Anyway, someone I was talking about it, and someone at the bar says, "I've never had that Relk beer. What is that?" And I explained it. So, and one of them liked it, and one of them said, "Well, I don't know if I'd have a whole glass." I said, "You would if you were eating a whole pork plate, or if you were eating any kind of food, you might appreciate it." And got into the whole discussion about how coal fire changed cooking and smoke. Everything tastes like smoke, so you really only appreciate the smoke when you don't have the smoke. Yeah, I was that guy at the bar. Anyway, my point is, in addition to not being able to account for the randomness of running into different folks and brewery people, and you're going to miss overhearing someone say, "Wow, this is an interesting beer," and you have the opportunity to ask, or you have the opportunity to say, "You like that one, you should try this other one."
Right.
And that kind of thing.
To random people over at the restrooms.
That kind of thing would be totally missing. So.
Yeah. It's a fun part of festivaling for people, not me, because I'm always working.
So, yeah, I mean, we definitely understand how festivals are important. And, even back when there weren't a lot of festivals, do you remember the era of the completely driven by a distributor festival? Like every brand
for
was
sure.
covered. You can still do things at those kinds of festivals. And that's the time to challenge yourself and say, I haven't had a Moose Drool in like 8 years.
Right.
I wonder what that's like. I wonder if I left it or it left me, or if we're in the same place anymore.
Or our journeys have come back together again.
Right. I don't normally get a Hefeweizen at a festival, but I had Oso's beer for, beer for drinking, eating with tacos or whatever. I don't remember what it was.
I don't know.
I mean, I was caught by the name, and then I was like, I'm going to go for it. And like, it was more enjoyable than I would have guessed, because sometimes these Hefeweizens sway on the clovey side or on the peppery, phenolic side or the banana side. And this one had all of it kind of just sprinkled in,
Well, and one thing that has always annoyed me about Hefeweizens is often it will just be an American wheat beer that is named Hefeweizen, and you're like, what happened?
Right.
That bugs me. I like a Hefeweizen. Like, I'll always ask if I see someone that I can talk to and say, hey, is that like German style, American style? And they're like, oh, German style. Okay, I'll try it.
Yeah. Speaking of beer,
Oh,
I'm ready for one if you...
I got some beer from the Buffalo Nickel Brewery, the Oktoberfest.
Oh, is that why you brought out this particular glass? for
Yes,
me?
it is.
It is a Renthouse Oktoberfest style glass.
Yep. The Oktoberfest beer is the one that I was told by Sean at 260 Brewing that I had to have.
Okay.
Go over to Buffalo Nickel. You have to have their Oktoberfest. It's so good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's real nice.
It's maybe lost a little carbonation in the
It was
in the process.
crawlered.
Yeah,
So these are crawler cans, not line sealed cans, but
and this is made by
Buffalo Nickel Brewing Company in Sholo,
brewery that I've never been to. Huh?
402 North Clark Road.
Oh, on Clark Road.
Yeah.
Is that how far away is that from the Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Megalopolis?
25 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
Maybe-
go about
maybe 24.
you get there and you go about 25 miles and you take a left.
What is happening?
I don't know. I'm hearing a phone ring.
It's not our phones.
My neighbors must be like
a
listening
neighbor.
to our podcast from afar.
Lucky them.
Okay. Yeah, this is good. I could drink a bunch of these. They had a nice outdoor area at this place. Both places, Buffalo Nickel and 260. I don't recall you asking about that.
They had a great outdoor area at 260. Buffalo Nickel, I got there at night. I got there at about 7. They closed at 8. They were in the process of closing. I'm not sure what their license situation is. They may have the whole premise licensed as the entertainment complex,
Yeah.
and then it might be open, but I did not see specifically a patio. After all, this is Sholo. It snowed there yesterday. So, yeah, I'm not really positive about that, but very nice restaurant area.
Great.
And great Oktoberfest. So
There
get
were
up there.
there were a couple other newsy items that I wanted to talk about, but
Great.
I don't
we
know if you
should.
got anything you want me to just go off my stream of consciousness. As
Well,
I
we
am wont
have
to do.
the BI, the Brewery Institute,
Beer Institute.
Beer Institute, once again was letting people know about the decline in draft beer sales and how we are selling less draft beer now than any time since Prohibition.
I did see that. That was posted and commented on. I'm getting more pure beer news feeds on Blue Sky than I am on Twitter, or ever were on Twitter, except for in the heady days
in
of
2017.
no, in 2012, 2010.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You have something going on?
Nope.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and so they were talking about the decline in draft. I didn't know that was a Beer Institute push.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I can't even imagine.
Pre-prohibition? Or
I don't know
since
though.
Prohibition?
I honestly don't know if that's true. I know that there's less kegs being sent through distributors than ever.
Yeah.
And also I don't know if that's true in Arizona because we always, we look at national trends and then we try and see, is that happening in Arizona? A lot of them just aren't. I think perhaps part of their overall throughput problem is the price of sporting good events.
Yeah.
Because you sell a lot of freaking beer at sporting events, and
But now they're getting RTDs being pushed, and 19.2 cans sort of
right.
make that. That's an interesting question. If you eliminated that variable, but I will tell you, if you're at a rando small market, albeit maybe important to that area bar, and they've got 3 taps, and they've never had a history of taking care of those taps, and they've always been the same 3 or whatever. I can, with the distributors now not coming by as often, you're going to run into actual physical problems. You're going to actually get solids to make that draft either completely foamed out. First of all, if you've got a clientele that's used to the flavor of off flavors that result from a draft line,
From poor line cleaning.
yeah. But I mean, it's going to be, physically impossible to get stuff out of there. I could see them just saying, you know what, we're just going to sell cans as a temporary measure, and then that just always becomes the case. So I can see a lot of loss there on some of those smaller accounts, but there's a lot of them.
Right. Right. But does that, I don't think they're taking into account anything in self-distributed breweries with those numbers, right? Or in
Yeah.
own premise
I mean, but we're losing the number of breweries too.
in the country.
Yeah. I mean, we're taking businesses that are 7 to 10 years old and replacing them with businesses that just opened. So even if we're at this sort of flatness with a propensity to probably shrink, you're replacing businesses that were producing.
Higher volumes.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the long tail, right? Like you produce that figure based on our desire to research small breweries here, and that what was the figure? It takes some breweries 10 years to get to 5,000 gallons, which is our minimum.
Yeah,
and the average
the
is like,
median for the whole country is it takes 7 years to reach that number.
yeah, but
Wild.
Yeah.
That is a long tail.
yeah.
Whew.
But I mean, that makes sense anecdotally and how people start breweries and how they, get a space and they're only open Friday, Saturday, and
Yeah.
and they have an uneven distribution situation. They send some kegs out because there's a lot of excitement, and then they lose that volume because,
And then they never go pick the kegs up, and the kegs just sit around. I know. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
The sad, sad tale of Barnstar Brewing Company. I know. Sorry,
well,
man.
I'm gonna say your former brewery, the Perch, had a bunch of metal scattered all over the state at one point.
Yeah. It's true.
And yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of bigger breweries that kind of flung it out there when they had a distributor. Not to switch gears, but to switch gears slightly.
Sure.
We totally missed the imminent closure of Leinenkugel. They're closing both
Chippewa Falls.
and the Milwaukee plant, and they're moving all that production to Molson Coors proper, which might not even be in Milwaukee anymore. Might not even be in Wisconsin for the most part. It might come from Denver
Could come
or
from
Golden.
Could come from Canada.
Yeah, I mean anything's possible, but like that brewery was the poster child for the cooperative way to work with large breweries. In that the Leinenkugel family sold but fought to maintain the plant in Chippewa Falls, saving a couple hundred jobs. That is a story that was often told about, like, hey, this is how it can work. When you sell, you don't have to, completely remove yourself from it, and they maintain that. That's been decades, and I know the Leinenkugel family is getting a little older, but I also know that the nephew of Jake Leinenkugel was the president of the company. So that's got to be a tough one, man, to lose a couple hundred jobs up there. The Milwaukee plant, who I haven't had a chance. I was very close to going to the Chippewa Falls plant when I was in Wisconsin before our Madison thing, and it would have been a tight timeline because of where I was, but I've done shit like that in the past. It was just like one of those things where I'm like, if I get there, it'll be like 45 minutes before close, and I don't know if I want to do that to people anymore. Keep them on a because you never know. Like you don't want to, like, oh God, I got to keep this guy serving beers to me. I used to not be conscious of that, but now I am totally be the guy that holds the bar open.
I mean, you never have to be that guy.
No, but I didn't want to drive all that way and just go, there it is.
There it is. 3-hour drive. There
Yeah.
it is. Gotta go.
Yeah. In addition to that, we've heard that Golden Road has closed some locations in Los Angeles, and Elysian has closed their production in Seattle. And that
In
one,
dramatic fashion.
yeah.
Like, lock the door, closed it. No notice, just said bye. And then we have our small producer, Modern Times,
Yeah.
part of Craftahana, that moved all their production to AleSmith.
Yeah.
And since that happened in September, has recently, I'm not sure what they did, They separated from Craftahana. They are Craftahana is not managing their tap rooms and production. They're just licensing it to someone. I'm not really positive. Do you have any insight on that?
I don't. I think we talked a little bit about that a couple of episodes ago. I'm trying to think of if we had a chance
We
to
talked
talk
about the Aerosmith thing, but I don't know. I don't know nothing.
Well, I want to get back to Leinenkugel and
okay.
Elysian for this very reason, because both of those companies sold a lot of their stuff to Tilray, and Tilray has
Both AB and Miller Coors?
yeah,
Okay.
and they've done a sort of a dodge and fake on like, oh yeah, we're gonna maintain, we love beer, and then they have done exactly the same thing in terms of laying off some of the most remarkable brewers in recent memory. Tanya Cornett and the 10 Barrel team, the innovation team, winning all those medals and then being quietly let go. But back to ABI and Molson Coors. This again, this is Jeff Allworth, Birvana. He's worth reading, if not everything. If most things, he also writes books on style, and he's a writer's writer. A lot of people look towards him for inspiration, guidance. But anyway, he wrote that this is the divorce of big beer from
Craft, right?
That and all the stories that you hear start to come back, and it's like, well, they bought it to mitigate it, they bought it to play defense, and whether that truly was true, that's what it looks like now. They weren't really capable or willing to change what they do to make those brands successful, because in the end they're taking away from a huge part of their volume. So it was a hedge, and they now have determined that it's not worth their time. So with those sell-offs, I'm struck by, especially in the ABI network, of who is left. We definitely know Four Peaks is left. We know Wicked Weed, I believe, is still in that network. Goose Island. I'm not sure who else is left in that group.
I would have to look, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nothing. First of all, no one predicted that Four Peaks was going to be purchased by ABI,
Or that they would be one of the last ones standing.
right? And it has a lot to do with the contours of Arizona, in that they represent a measurable percentage of the total beer sold in Arizona, and it's still a distinct entity, Arizona. I'm like, you can't just supplant Arizona now with beer from everywhere else, right? That because they were on that forefront, and now that we have a bunch of regional and smaller breweries, you can't just be a suburb of San Diego as a beer consumer in this state. I know a lot of people used to think you could, but you can't. So I'm just struck about what that's got to mean for the local people here, when it comes to what the future of Four Peaks is. Is it going to just survive only because of the unique situation here in Arizona?
Something I heard was that the sales team from Four Peaks was let go.
Yeah.
Is no longer
Oh man,
on the Four Peaks team.
we're gonna have to run that down.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect, it makes Ted Golden's choice a little more definitive for that. So, well, I hope everyone lands okay over there, because I don't know that we're in a position as an industry to absorb some of the scope of what they do.
Certainly, it would be tough to join another brewing company in Arizona, and getting paid would be impossible
Yeah.
for someone that has been with a company that long at the level he was.
Right.
Our craft breweries just don't have the money for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why as an organization, the guild. We have to try to be as innovative as possible to support not only the models that we have, but the models that might be moving forward. You know, focusing on taking the relief, giving some relief to the very small breweries might help. Having the ability to stack different production licenses and alternating propriety could help. None of those are the answer, but that's why we're going to keep whittling away at
Business
that.
people come up with creative answers, and what we want to do is make sure that there's not laws in the way of them doing those important things.
Yeah. Well, it should be clear now that we fought a battle about what a small brewery can do, and it was mostly opposed by people who thought somehow a local brewery would get too powerful, or a local winery, or a local distillery. And if it wasn't considered outright bullshit and fantasy then, it should be now. You know, those arguments held sway with a lot of legislators back in 2013, 14, and it took a lot to convince otherwise. But if the largest brewery in the state can't achieve the success, even with the help of the largest brewery in the world, then we should not fear making our local businesses more capable. And then, you know, we're coming from the brewery side, but I would say that about wineries, and I would say that about distilleries. We have so much scale against us. We are not going to get materials. There's a drone over there, giant one.
Maybe it's delivering Amazon packages.
I don't know, man. It's as big as the one in frickin' Star Wars on Hoth. Look at that thing. Anyway,
I don't know how big that is.
we just have supply chain against us. Like, distillery would rely on, you know, access to barrels, the ability to compete on a commodity product, which is grain alcohol, which can be blended and all this other stuff, that large companies just see fit to make it elsewhere and import it here and not get taxed a lot on it. They get taxed more than most, but that's why they're able to manufacture these RTDs and things at such low expense, and why they're able to embrace every celebrity passion project, you know, by riding on the heels of us changing the market about what consumers should expect about flavor. Wineries are going to be limited in the grow areas. We have 2 distinct grow areas here. They're very important, but, you know, I got to figure water is going to be a limiting factor in land, and you know, the larger wineries through their distributors just clamp down on wine production here in ways that I just find remarkably callous and idiotic.
Like the Arizona statute is very limiting on what wineries can produce in Arizona, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and there's they leverage people poo-pooing the fact that they can obtain grapes from other areas, like that somehow they're cheating the system or taking away from the consumer. Like, grapes are definitely important; they're an important ingredient, but there's
But
no.
who even cares if you do that? Like,
know.
it's like contract brewing, or, I mean, come on, let's talk about distilleries in Arizona and how many of them get product, or that get grain alcohol just brought in and then they treat it.
Yeah,
That happens a lot. And that's not meant as a knock.
yeah.
It's meant as, why would you let all that happen, except you won't let wineries release more than X number of cases a year.
Yeah.
That's really dumb. And I mean, there are some creative ways around that too.
Yeah. Well, so interesting. On the
Alternative
winery side.
proprietorship.
Yeah.
They've had that available for a long time.
Yeah. But no one's really put together the triple threat that could be, you know, beer, wine, and spirits in one location, and done more of an estate thing. But these tariffs that might be coming are going to particularly hit the wine industry pretty hard, because most wineries of size import as well and carry other are part of a
Right.
network of other brands,
And they
so-
import a lot of glass too.
yeah, and so making California wines less successful doesn't necessarily help anyone else in the wine industry. I think instead of, our role is to understand what we can free up on our local businesses to make them better. But I think it's time for another beer.
Sure. Have a Pilsner and have a black IPA.
I mean, while that drone is now nested behind my house somewhere, we don't have to worry about it.
I saw a video today that DJI released a new drone that the props are 54 inches and
Wow.
it can carry 60 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That gets in there where it starts getting mentioned at certain rallies about killing birds and whales, huh?
No.
The size of those.
No.
rotors.
No. Only windmills kill birds.
Oh,
Stop it.
All right.
Pilsner?
Yes.
I have not had this.
This is also a Buffalo Nickel
Yes.
Brew Pilsner. Oh, it looks crystal clear.
Sure
And-
does.
Well, we didn't do this cheers thing. You grabbed the two of the most random glasses in my collection.
Well, I grabbed that one because
For the
it's perfect for the Oktoberfest.
Yeah. Also good for a Pilsner. Pilsner are served in
Mm-hmm.
mugs. We're not always in these highfalutin Pilsner glasses.
Oh, hi there, baby.
Oh, this is Hazel.
Hazel's here.
Yeah.
You're not going to see Hazel on the camera, but Rob will put some in for
I'll
you.
put a photo in for Hazel.
What else do we have? Minimum wage increase is coming.
Yeah, it's a double thing. So first of all, the first minimum wage increase was voted down since 1987 was in California. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not know that. And I also know that the Arizona Restaurant Association's new tipped wages
Failed.
proposition did not
Yeah.
pass.
And the ruling that raised the exemption for salaried workers got a rethink right before the new administration. I'm not sure what that was about, but
It was struck down by a judge in Texas.
yeah. Okay. So
Where
that's
all
never coming
things
back.
go to die, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like the law, just shop it to the right district, and
Yeah.
if it gets to the Supreme Court, it's obviously going to go only one way.
The 9th District of Texas is where you want to do all of your IP.
Right.
Legal.
So the Labor Department noticed that a lot more people were being named as salary employees, and they still had hourly duties. And so to sort of mitigate that, they raised the amount of salary that to be a salary employee, you have to make a minimum of this, because otherwise it's just nonsense. You can't name somebody who's making $24,000 a manager
Right.
because typically you're opening, you're closing, you're in charge of the register, you're doing things that are tied to hourly employment. So instead of getting into the nitty gritty about all those duties, which they do, it's just easier to set a minimum threshold. And they were raising that. And
Which is now 35 and it was going up to 52.
actually it was at 48, it was going up to 52. So yeah, which is in the sweet spot of a lot of new hires for production work, potentially in different parts of the country. It's a salary for people in our realm.
Yeah, for sure.
So the interesting thing is, if you didn't make that amount of money, are you getting paid extra for? Do you have to be considered hourly for the purposes of things like festivals, or in the fact that if you're in production but you're called upon to do public retail-y type things, you might be at a bar at 8 or 9 o'clock when normally you clock out at 4 o'clock or earlier. So all those things are now moot, I guess, right? So it was something that sometimes as people in our field will ask what we support for the individual workers, and we are tied to represent the
We are a
ownership.
trade organization. We are a trade organization, not a labor organization.
Right.
Yeah.
But these are things that we point to that, hey, well, this is going on, and this is something that is generally supported by the Brewers Association and generally supported by the organizations, because we don't weigh in on those things. We're not large enough to sway it. Even the Brewers Association would be sticking their necks out to oppose that on behalf of their owners. But it's moot. The minimum wage thing is important for our members, obviously, because we actually have a couple cities that probably base some of their minimum wage fights on the state minimum wage. I'm not sure who in this industry is paying minimum wage as a rule for a lot of employees, but something to be aware of that it's going up. But the tipped credit thing, which unfortunately supported by the Restaurant Association, any owner I talk to, any server I talk to, when I explain it to them, they say that sounds good. It was just a complicated measure to communicate because the description was written such that it said that there would be a decrease in the minimum wage. The upshot of that is there could be a decrease. You could pay less, but all those dollars that you would pay less into the hourly system are taxed differently, or taxed less than or more than if you get tips. So most servers who get tips would say, I want to have complete control over tips, and I don't want my wage to go up because then that's taxed through the federal system. And also, this is the most important thing. Once it is known that tipped employees are making more money, consumer behavior is to say, well, I'm not going to tip as much or at all because I know they're getting a minimum wage. And that's just it. That's wrong. Talked to a lot of small business owners, and they were literally saying, we pay for the back of the house, but our success is tied to the front of the house. If the front of the house is making good tips, we are making money. If the front of the house is not making good tips, we are not making money. And so to completely restructure that business model would be chaotic. My understanding is if the loss wasn't a complete loss in terms of they wanted to change the Constitution to protect the ability for minimum wage to transform the restaurant industry into a tipless system, because I think that's the goal of labor organizations, is to collect as many wages as possible so that they could fund union organizations through the wages. I'm not making sense.
That's okay. So labor organizations fought against this because they would rather have everyone go to straight pay instead of tips.
Right, because they could organize those folks easier, and they would guarantee that there was enough in the paycheck to take out union dues. So they're going to still fight that now. The Restaurant Association tried to get this prevented in the Constitution. They may try it again, but now we can look forward to next year having a lot of cities maybe get hit up individually on raising the minimum wage. So it fundamentally, like, I know there's a lot of people who don't like paying tips, and I know that tips have sort of bled into everything. Some mindless transaction you do when you walk up and you just hit the screen out of guilt or unconsciousness. I get that. That's an ownership decision to put that on the screen. That is them saying you should pay more of my employees' wages. I get that.
There sometimes can be a technical issue where the system, say you have a server and you have a counter, that the system says, do you want tips turned on or off?
Yeah.
So they don't get a choice necessarily to turn it off over at the counter. If you're on the same point of sale, it's on or it's off. And that's not all of them, but that's certainly some of them.
Anyway, the loss, it just means that the fight continues, I guess, for both sides, as opposed to having it just be kind of like it is. But at the possible expense of pissing somebody off, if you are a person that goes to a place that has a tipped server system, especially if it's sit down. I'm not going to get into walk up service, but if you go to a place where someone is taking your order and bringing you food and making sure your drinks are filled and all that other stuff, and you fundamentally don't believe in tips and you don't tip, fuck you. Because you are not changing anything by your behavior. You are not, it's not a movement. It's not a higher minded thing. It is just you being an asshole.
Right.
Like, because
Unless you want to wear a sign or a hat that says "I don't tip,"
right? Oh yeah, if
you're not making a statement, you're just being a dick.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, your statement is affecting the person who is least likely to actually do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, fuck you.
That happened. What was that all coming from?
Just an email I sent you.
No.
Tipped wages?
No. I mean, we were talking about, anyways. Hey, Phobab's coming up. Are you going?
No.
Oh my God. Come on. You didn't go last year.
I know, but this is the weekend that you wanted us to go to Wilcox, and I still don't have an answer for you.
Oh my God.
Today's what? Wednesday?
It's way
So what?
It's way easier for you to just get on a plane and go to Chicago than it is for you to go to Wilcox.
I got parental commitments, and then we have a big week to prepare for Thanksgiving. And I did manage to rent a van so that I could bring my parents to the extravaganza, which is also my birthday.
Yeah.
But tell me about your plan to Wilcox. When are you leaving? What's the timeline?
Leaving Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heading down to Wilcox, checking into our casita.
Yeah.
All the glamping tents were already sold out.
Oh no. Okay.
It's all right.
Yeah.
We've seen those spaces. It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
And spending the day there. I mean, going down through Tucson, I'm dropping off Black Friday tickets at Barrio.
Okay.
So that's cool. And going down to Wilcox, hanging out there, maybe going visit a few wineries. And then on Saturday morning, heading over to...
Sorry. Camera got too hot because the sun hit it. Please continue.
Oh, Saturday morning, heading down to Bisbee. We're going to visit all the breweries down there, swing over to Sierra Vista, check out Tombstone, and then back to Wilcox, hang out, take off Sunday morning, head over to Sonoyta,
Wow.
and then zip back home.
Right.
It's quite an adventure coming up, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
I will have a decision tomorrow. But chances are I'll be here. I went and gave blood platelets the other day. It was interesting. Yeah. I haven't given blood in a while because I had some health issues that I wanted to get through, blood pressure stuff. So I finally got around to doing it. And the blood platelet thing, they take your blood out and then they wash the platelets out and they pump your blood back in. Part of that was I had an opportunity that fit my schedule, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. But I won't tell you, man. If you're not raising your hand to say, hey, slow this down, you get a little bit kind of like you're high. You get a little tingly all over, and
Why is this?
I don't know. But
That sounds nice.
yeah, it took me a little while to recover from that yesterday. So I think it was also because I'm a little bit run down after all this extenuating stuff. But I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, hey.
Oh, hi.
They're going to be here between 12 and 12:30. I tried calling you, didn't answer, so I wasn't sure. So I
Oh, yeah, I'm using my phone to record this. It's like Mom came down from the basement and interrupted our jam session, man. That's Brenda, the official wife of me.
Official wife of the podcast. What else? Oh, I listened to Drink Beer, Think Beer today. What is the meaning of beer? Interview with the author. That was awesome.
Oh,
It's all about how beer move forward so many of the important parts of society and technology and all kinds of stuff. So very cool podcast.
I am way behind on my podcast, and I might have to just cut it off and start over. But I did start listening to David Fonte, Taplines, and Kimberly Clements was on.
Oh,
Talk
cool.
about the launch of Mick Ultra in the early 2000s. And Kimberly Clements, now with Pints, a consulting group, based on their experience, her experience, and Wes, her partner's experience, and managing a distributor, Golden Eagle at the time. And they do work on M&A and brand launches, and something that is only coming into vogue now is brand retraction, strategy for pulling, out of markets and or reducing your distributor component. But anyway, she talked about the launch program for Mick Ultra, and Mick Ultra was launched maybe in a couple other markets, but one of them was here in Arizona, and what that entailed, and her story about driving around one of the Bush family members and picking them up from the airport and jamming into her little car because she was not that old at the time, and picking up from the airport to Golden Eagle's distribution warehouse should have been like a 20-minute thing, but they were driving around for an hour because basically he was using that time to get information about what was going on from, a trusted but lower level employee of Golden Eagle. She was the daughter of the family that owned it. So was in a position to work a lot of different positions and was part of the launch team. But just him saying, drive over here, go there, and just asking questions, it was hilarious. So I'm halfway through that one. But it's good to see our local folks get into those kind of media situations. And
I saw S. Taryn was interviewed about future trends of beer.
I missed that. What was that on?
It was actually print media,
Oh, okay.
but he was one of 10 people.
What was
that
the
they interviewed.
takeaway? Food and beer?
I think his specifically was stop jamming so much fruit into sour beers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The pendulum is swinging.
Yes, there's make sour beers, but don't just put so much crap in it that you're not getting the beautiful nuance of the sour beer. Oh, I got some Tombstone Brewing Company Brett IPA yesterday.
Yeah.
I haven't had it. It's in my fridge. I'm going to have it tonight. And I am so excited to have. They have a Mosaic and a Citra. These are both from 2018. I don't know how the hops are going to hold up, but I love a Brett IPA.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have that to look forward to tonight.
Yeah. IPAs generally don't survive aging, except for when they have other malts or they're high ABV. Obviously, the hops are going to fade no matter what. They're packaged correctly, or they have other components. So, Brett definitely is a preservative, even though it's a spoiling agent. Conversely.
So excited.
If you get a fresh Orval, which is Brett, has Brett in it, a fresh one's going to have a hop character to it, and it's going to fade. So the more complex you can make an IPA, the more likely it's going to survive. But generally, the ones we make have a low malt backbone and a lot of hops, and so those are prone to oxidization and other off flavors.
But Brett will tear that oxygen out too, so that's great. And Weedy knows what the hell he's doing. So
two good things to. What do you got there?
this is a black IPA.
Oh, I'm gonna have some of that.
I pour it with vigor.
Yes, you did.
Con muy fuerte.
All right, so I'm here to say that if these are just slight fall offs from the packaging, which I'm totally into. Buffalo Nickel seems like a place to go, man. Did you find the beers at 260
Awesome.
awesome?
Yeah.
All right.
Get
So-
up to Show Low Pine Top for your beer drinking adventure and maybe go skiing. Head down from wherever Sunrise is to Pine Top. Check
Yeah.
out their Belgian style beers.
Right on.
I don't know what's up with 4 Silos, but I would check them out too because they're there and you're in a very small
What
town.
else? Yeah, what else are you gonna do?
But 260 and Buffalo Nickel, excellent beers.
Right on. Do we lose the camera again? Oh well.
I didn't lose it; it's still there. All right, Rob, it's time to go.
It is time to go.
The beer definitely found us today,
Yes. No, you found me. Thank you for coming by and
Sure.
bailing me out here.
and remember, this is not a beer podcast; it's a podcast about beer. Yeah.